at least 2 to 4 elements present during a transmission and meditation: the transmitter, grounder, anchor, and receiver. During individual meditation and prayer, for this is actually the same energy work that transpires during prayer. During individual meditation, there is only one transmitter required, which would be you or the individual performing the meditation. Now, you as the person meditating would be transmitting, anchoring, and grounding for the receiver. And the receiver would be you and anyone and everyone else cited to be recipients or benefactors of the intention you have set out. During synchronized transmission, there can be more than one transmitter involved, and they can be positioned in one or several different locations. The grounders may or may not be working directly with the transmitter or transmitters. And when working directly with the transmitters, they are best situated in the focus areas or within the focus areas for which the transmission is intended. The anchorers need not be working directly with the transmitters and grounders, and they can be aware or not aware of the synchronized transmission. And they are typically or naturally located anywhere within the area receiving the transmission. The receiver is basically everything and everyone within the area the transmission is targeting. They can be aware or not aware of the transmission. However, awareness is always a key factor, and we will discuss that a bit in a little bit. The best example that would best illustrate and best explain in layman's terms how this all works is that the mechanics behind all this is no different from how satellites and antennas work for a television company to be able to transmit a live telecast or any form of telecast to all televisions tuned into it at a specific location and time, and almost regardless of location and time. Typically, a television company would have a satellite dish and perhaps even a satellite orbiting the planet, and the satellite transmits data to antennas located in different regions, and in turn, these antennas would transmit the data and make it available for all televisions tuned or turned on and tuned into that specific channel. The antennas do not necessarily convert the data into information that is readily interpretable, but I do emphasize the part that antennas transmit the data and make it available within a particular area, because whether or not the television is tuned into it, the information is there and accessible at any time the television will be tuned into it. Thus, regardless of what the television is tuned into, the data is available and is made available by the antenna. Now, with more people accessing that data, the more grounded that data becomes and becomes even more accessible for information. And how is this? The people who receive the information transform from being receivers of the data to becoming transmitters of the data. They continue transmitting either by publishing the information on the internet or raising for discussion with other people, or even incorporating the data in their work. There are many varied creative ways people can get to be able to transmit what they had seen on television. Now, meditation and transmission, energy transmission that is, works no different. The mechanics are the same, the energy work pattern is the same. The transmitters function as the satellite receiving data for transmission, and I'm referring to transmitters as in the energy transmitters or main anchors. and the grounders act as antennas grounding the energy to make it available. The anchorers would be the televisions which translate the transmission and make it easier for the receivers to access the energy. The receivers would be the audience. It has to be noted that a transmission and or grounding of divine light frequencies is not merely always about transmitting and grounding energies that are alien or separate from us. It is currently a popular notion that when they are receiving or when people are receiving a transmission, they are gaining something that they do not possess, or that they are gaining something they do not already possess. In reality, the transmission and grounding allows everyone, and not just the receivers, since everyone involved in a transmission are in actuality receiving something. So in reality, a transmission and grounding allows everyone to be able to receive and ground more of their true energies, which had previously been separated from them upon stepping into the old earth platform, or should we say, upon incarnation. And this is the main reason why we had the terms separation, and now we have the term unification. A lot of people would like to get past being a receiver and become the other three, the transmitter, anchor, grounder. Now anyone can be a transmitter, anchor, and grounder anytime. The only limit to your ability to transmit is purpose. Thus it is important to ask yourself, what is your intention? And remember that during meditation and prayer, you are already serving as a transmitter. Thus, there is no limit to your ability to be a transmitter except that which is your intention for doing so and being so. Moreover, your willingness to be a receiver gauges your ability to be a transmitter, because in every sense and in every way, transmitting is about receiving something to transmit. You have to be so open and pure and willing to open up and accept that part. And it is the same way with anchors and grounders. It all begins with receiving, and it all begins with your ability to receive. The element of synchronicity. Now, in the past few years, we have seen how the ascending transcending community have organized numerous synchronized meditations, transmissions, and other forms of uplifting activities at a planetary, galactic, cosmic level. Galactic and cosmic included mainly because many have already been sinking and tapping into numerous omniversal and beyond passages. And perhaps the most famous would be solstice, equinox, and the Lionsgate. Synchronicity can be measured through many means or any means of time measuring devices. It does not matter if you prefer cosmic portals, ancient calendars, or the Gregorian. What matters is that everyone consciously participating is able to sync with the time and date that has been set. At the moment, this is the main reason as to why the Gregorian and 1260 is still being utilized, regardless of the fact that these are energetically non-functional, because they had been officially dissolved altogether through our entry into the 1221-12 gateway. It is not necessary for everyone involved in a transmission to be aware of the time or even of the transmission. As explained earlier, recipients and anchorers of a transmission are not necessarily aware, and recipients and transmitters are not limited to the aware collective. The energy is readily made available even by those unaware of what is transpiring here. However, it is necessary for those proactively participating in the transmission to be synchronized. Synchronicity is the key factor that allows for holding fast together the grounding frequencies and thus the creation of a well-grounded, well-founded energetic field for the collective to tap into. Light bearers and frequency consciousness holders, grounders. For this, the term entities is preferred over individuals because light bearers and frequency consciousness holders, grounders, are not limited to the hue or human. The kingdoms and elementals are among these. Earth is or does belong to this as well. Trees and perhaps are the most recognized as high frequency and consciousness holders and grounders of the planet. It is not unusual that assigned transmitters, grounders, and anchors have cleared out major energetic blockages before they had begun consciously becoming part of synchronized transmissions. However, it is important to recognize that we are all, to a certain degree, all grounding, anchoring, transmitting, and receiving, even at a subconscious, or should it be said high consciousness basis. Light bearers and frequency consciousness holders, grounders, are those who had been born holding expansive levels of frequencies or have done sufficient energy work that have enabled them to reactivate to levels of frequency expansiveness. Thus, they have or are expanded or expansive in terms of their energetic field of influence, and they've cleared out much density to such extent that allows more light to pass through them as channels or vessels for the purpose of entering and grounding into the planet. Knowledge of energy work, regardless of whether it concerns gates, portals, grids, transmissions, or purely energy in general, is currently a curiosity for newly awakened or newly conscious ascending individuals, for there are those born awake but had not been necessarily aware or even interested in ascension per se. These, which are most merely for information basis, to aid individual and collective ascension progress, and will soon become the very core foundations of new learning, new methods of instruction and curriculum, as people will begin to fall away from old systems and begin seeking or realigning with divine knowledge.